Firstly, let me say welcome to everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome all of you for the GEF here in Hanoi. The Green Economic Forum is a premier event for government and for industry that will help Vietnam develop towards the green goals. It's kind of a follow-up on last year's GEFI event that we had in Singapore, in Saigon, sorry. And this one will be without the exhibition and only focused on the forums. So we would have three panels in this room today. The overarching topic is sustainable agriculture. We will start off with agroecology. I will be chairing that session. Then after agroecology, we will have a session on One Health, chaired by Johan. And the third one will be financing of green and sustainable agriculture solutions, chaired by Paul Antoine. I'll be moderating the first session of the morning on agroecology. Luckily, I won't do it alone. That would be very boring. So I have four panelists that I would like to invite to the stage. Firstly, I would like to invite Mr. Tang, Director General for IPSAT from MAT. Please come to the stage, Mr. Tang. Then I would like to invite Mr. Jung, the General Manager of Le Verre de Mekong. Mr. Jung, the Country Director for IDH. IDH is the Sustainable Trade Initiative. And Mr. Andrew Cameron, the founder and the CEO of Enzyme Consulting. So the way we'll run it this morning is that I prepared a couple of questions for the panelists myself. We will run through a round of questions first. Then we will open the floor for questions. You are welcome. Feel free to ask anything. We are very experienced and talented group on the scene here. So don't be shy. Don't hold back. Then around the second round of questions, open the floor again, and then I will try my best to make a short summary. And that should be the end of the session. But before we get started with that, I will try to give a brief introduction to what agroecology is, because there's a lot of definitions around. Is it organic agriculture? Is it not? But actually, agroecology is, in layman terms, I guess, a way to invite the ecology, invite the nature back into our agriculture. And I think that's a very interesting development we have seen. For example, we see a lot of the organic fruit that is being expected to yield less yield per hectare than our conventional production, looking only pure in economics. But from a broader sustainability point of view, it might even be more valuable than our normal agricultural practices. Other internationally traded commodities is not only fruit, but also spices and coffee and aquaculture products. Also really interesting for us to talk when we talk about agroecology. The traditional Vietnamese farming systems are sometimes looked upon as a disadvantage. They are very small units compared to what we see in some countries. But actually using agroecology, you could turn that disadvantage into an advantage, because agroecology is very much in favor of smaller units with diverse crops, so that could fit very nicely into what we see in Vietnam today already. I think also Vietnam could serve as a potential for an export hub for agroecology and organic production. A lot of countries, Hong Kong, Singapore, bigger cities, I will say, all over the ASEAN group, is focusing more and more on sustainability, focusing more and more on organic and how that impacts your health. And I think Vietnam could really develop into a hub for exporting those kind of products. Then I would say also in Europe now we see that conventional big-scale agriculture is more and more fitted into the nature as well. We have more and more agroecology as well. One crop on one huge area is more and more being changed into agroecology. So I think actually it forms a very nice topic where both Vietnamese and European companies and governments can learn from each other. So I think very much it's a two-way communication. But I think that's enough talk from me. I'm here to moderate, not to talk too much. So I'd like to start the panel with giving each of my participants up here 2 minutes to present themselves and their interest in the expertise in agroecology. Mr. Tang, if you can start, please.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. My name is Tang. I'm now the DG of the Institute of Policy and Strategy for Agriculture. My institute is under the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. And first, I would like to thank Eurocharm to invite me to come here to share with you on the section of agriculture ecological. My institute is focused on the policy and strategy, and we have seen at the think tank for the Ministry of Agriculture. And myself, I work for agriculture around more than 20 years, and also focus on the market analysis, policy and strategy. And with the ecological agriculture, for us, honestly, it's still new in terms of the approach. And last year, we developed the strategy for agriculture and rural development in Vietnam in the period of 2021 to 2030 and the vision to 2050s. And in the strategy, we try to move agriculture from the intensive to the more sustainable. And ecological agriculture is one of the main directions for agriculture in Vietnam. And that's all. And thank you very much. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Firstly, thank you very much for Eurocharm inviting Levec Jeudi Mekong today. My name is Dong, D-O-N-G. I'm a general director of the Levec Jeudi Mekong. The company carried the brand Love Fruit. You might say Love Fruit in a hotel and in some other market in town. And thanks so much for calling me here today to sit here to share with you guys about the agroecology that we have been doing for 23 years in Vietnam since we established. So I'm really honored and so pleased to be here to share our story and to discuss about the practical method we are using in Levec Jeudi Mekong. Once again, thank you very much.
Xin chào. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us early and being here on time, even though there was a bit of traffic out there. My name is Andrew Cameron. I'm a biologist and someone who's been working across the food systems for the last 20 years, and recently have set up a little consultancy out of Singapore called Enzyme. What we do at Enzyme is we look at building ecosystems to support all sorts of products and services across the agri-food tech system, and work out those strategies for the market implementation. So what brings me here today, I mean, for all of these challenges, it takes a village. Like we talk about multiple stakeholders, we talk about collaborations, we talk about technology, we talk about how do we finance things. Part of what I do is actually look at how we bring all those things together and have those conversations and bring it into market. Why am I especially interested in agroecology? I think there's a lot of discussion. There's organic, there's permaculture, there's agroforestry, there's regenerative agriculture. I think there's a lot of terms going around right now, and there's a lot of understanding to be had and a lot of better practices to be implemented, especially with agroecology looking at the human element as well. So thanks for having me today. Looking forward to our discussion.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Dũng. I am a country director of IDES. IDES is a non-profit organization. So you know, in Vietnam, we have about 400 NGO, international NGO register, and IDES is one of them. But our mission is a little bit more unique compared to others because we focus on support the company, the private sector in fulfilling their commitment to sustainability. So today I'm going to share with you the experience. We work with the private sector in reducing the carbon footprint in the supply chain, and also how the agroecology solution can link to carbon reduction in the agriculture supply chain. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for that. And maybe I should also introduce myself. So my name is Jesper. I am working as the Global Director for Aqua Nutrition and Support in the Huis. For us, sustainability and green is very important. As you might know, in animal production, one of the biggest operational costs, but also one of the biggest environmental impacts comes from the feed. So for us, it's really important to be part of the green dialogue, you can say, and I think also we can play a role in making agriculture greener. The reason I'm up here is not because of the Huis, it's also because I'm the sector chair of one of the sector committees in Eurocham. The sector committee is called FABS. A bit of a strange word, but it's an abbreviation of food, agriculture, and aquaculture businesses. So it's a forum where we discuss European and Vietnamese companies about the challenges and the opportunities we have in Vietnam. So I'm very happy to be here today and to see so many participants as well. So maybe I would like to start with the first questions to Mr. Tang from MART. And I have now reached the age where I need to put my glasses on to see the questions, so bear with me. I would like to ask maybe a little bit in general terms on what is the orientation for ecological agriculture development in Vietnam, and how do you see it today versus, for example, 5 years ago?
Thank you very much. It's quite broad question. However, I can share with you about the direction for agriculture, ecological agriculture in Vietnam. As you may know that the agriculture in Vietnam is still very important for Vietnam. The GDP for agriculture in Vietnam that's only for 14% of total. However, you know that a lot of we have about 10 million agriculture household, and also the agriculture sector in Vietnam so far plays a very important role, and we have a quite stable growth. And the agriculture sector play a very important role in terms of provide foods, ensure the food security. And recently, the agriculture sector in Vietnam also play a very important role in terms of trade. And you know that last year, the total export from agriculture is around 53 billion US dollar. So it doubled in the 2010. And also the agriculture sector contribute a big share for the trade surplus. And in terms of the trade surplus, the agriculture contribute around 50% of the whole economy. So we also review the success and also the achievement of agriculture so far, and we found that in terms of the growth, in terms of the increase in the productivities and increase into output, we have a very good. And we compare the productivity of the main agriculture commodity in Vietnam compared with the world. We found that in terms of price, coffees, catfish, packages, and also even pepper and managed agriculture, we have a very good we have a very good productivity. However, we also recognize that we have still facing problem in terms of the sustainability. That's why the last year when we developed the strategy for agriculture in Vietnam in the period of the 2021 to 2030 and the vision to the 2050, we need to change. Hello. Yeah. So we need to change the agriculture sector because before we focus mainly on the increase the productivities of the commodity. We do not focus on the sustainability. And before we use a lot of like input, we have a quite stable growth, but it's based on the input, the labor, water, fertilizer, pesticide. However, now we need to change. That's why under the strategy, we put the new direction to work the agroecological. So I think that is one of the big change in terms of the national level. And what the change in terms of the national strategy, every province also, they also recognize that they need to change the agriculture to work more like a sustainability. The sustainability not only in terms of the environment, but also in terms of society and also in terms of economics. That's why I think at the moment agroecological now is one of the very important direction, important strategy for Vietnam. And also today, like Eurocharm, when you organize it, I think it's a very concisely, but it's very good chance for us to share about the views and the direction for Vietnam with the international. And I hope that most of you here is you are the company, and I think most of you are the FDI. And we found out the FDI's company, you already have a very good, like, how can I say, the direction for the sustainability. However, with the small farmer, with the cooperative, and with some small SME in Vietnam, that's the main part for agriculture. We need to change as well. And especially under the pressure from the market regulation and the market condition, especially for like for EU's, for US, and for the highest economic the market, we need to follow and we need to change to meet with the requirement from export market. That's why I think at the moment in Vietnam now and from now on, we had to follow the agroecological. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tang, for that. I think that's very interesting. Maybe my second question will be to you, Mr. Jung. And maybe that would focus a little bit on, maybe first give me some concrete examples to agroecology initiatives you are working on here in Vietnam. And maybe also touch upon some of the carbon footprint reduction projects that you have in relation to the value chain. I think that could add an interesting aspect.
Thank you. So you know that nowadays everybody talk about climate change and carbon emission reduction, and governments made commitment, especially many companies also made global commitment to reduce carbon footprint in the production or in the supply chains. And many other companies have not yet made the commitment, but also explore the opportunity to reduce the carbon footprint in the supply chain. They commit reduce 10%, 20% net zero. But it's very, very easy to make the commitment, but very difficult to turn the commitment into the action, especially in carbon footprint reduction. So many companies, they struggle with the solution. Yeah. And so they reach out to IDES, and we work in a group of seafood company, coffee company, or spices company on the carbon reduction intervention. So first, you need to develop the tool to access the supply chain to see where the carbon hotspots, so that you can, so the tool is developed. You need the baseline data to monitor how to measure the reduction, and you also need a collection of data to provide it. And after we conduct the assessment for coffee, pepper, and aquaculture, we see that in coffee, more than 80% of the carbon coming from the on-farm activities. Yeah? Less than 10 from processing and less than 10 from pre-farm. For pepper, you remember Vietnam is the #1 in terms of pepper export. We also more than 90% coming from farm level. And like aquaculture, I think more than 50 from fish, 20, 30 from processing. So if the company sitting in Europe, in US, commit to reduce the carbon in the supply chain, but 90% of the carbon is in the producing country like Vietnam, then how are you going to do it? Because you need the collaboration from the government, from the farmer, from the trade partner here in the Vietnam. So that's why the role of some organization I did to fit in, because we're the one who connect that dot. Then we together with on the we bring what we call public-private partnership. Like we have local government, we have the ministry, we have the different other NGO. Especially we have the buyer, the producer, the processor together, and design project to conduct intervention. And at the farm, at the landscape level, yeah, many agroecology solutions have been implemented. For example, for pepper, mainly the carbon come from the fertilizer use. Yeah. And so then you focus on better agrochemical management. You will focus more on soil health management. You will focus more on generative agriculture activity. You help the farmer to use the resource more efficiently. You also using biofertilizer, for example. Then I think it takes 1 year to develop the M&E system, and also on the baseline data. And that's what we are doing now in the Central Highland for coffee and pepper in Vietnam. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Thung, for that. That's very interesting to hear. I think for me, not knowing the pepper industry so well, that 90% of the emission comes from the farm level, I think is quite extraordinary. So interesting information there. So we often hear about technology, innovative technology, and how that can help the industry. So maybe I'll ask you, Andrew, how can agroecology principles be integrated into these new technologies so we can actually support the smallholder farmers in Vietnam during their transition to sustainable practices? And how can we make sure that the quality of their product is recognized as well? Because some of these efforts probably carry a bit of an investment, so how do the farmer get that investment back? I would like to hear your perspective on that.
Yeah, thank you very much. Can you hear me okay? This is quite an expansive topic, so if I'm running over, please stop. So when we're looking at agroecology, I think we need to remember that this is, at its core, a fairly low technology procedure, but it's high knowledge, especially that a lot of these farmers have become quite dependent on chemistry and fertilizers and the like. And if we're looking at the knowledge that we need to transfer to these farmers, we look at how we actually can distribute that. So what do we look at in that? So the first thing that comes to mind is capacity building. So how do you transfer information through apps, through platforms, the likes, and how to get it across everywhere? A big part of that is, the data that you can get there, that farm-to-gate data, but how you actually connect all of the different ecosystems from farm to table in the best way that you can. And you look at for other ways to create more efficiencies as well. On top of that, there's also the financing piece. And once you've got all those integrated systems, you can create incentive structures to help de-risk as well. So I'm very happy to see in the room today a Vietnamese startup called Regenex, which is working in the space. So I may take a moment to speak about what they do. So what they are doing is actually they're working on that financing for the farmer, working with the channel partners to make sure that it's de-risked at the farm level. And then with that, they're able to, and forgive me, Val, I'm not doing too much of a good job up here. Please address them afterwards for more questions. But through that process, they're able to access those funds if they're able to meet to the regenerative agriculture standards. With that, they're able to consolidate that and find the buyers and create full data aligned to what the buyers are looking for and track what that carbon is. And I think quite similar to what you're looking at as well. But how do you improve on that for agroecology? I think it's about looking at all those principles and making sure that you're working with all the various NGOs and government bodies to actually that you've got that quality information that everyone's looking for. I may leave it there because otherwise I'll jump down another rabbit hole. So thank you.
All right. I think the traceability part is very interesting. And I don't know, we often hear about how to use blockchain in traceability, and I think that could be one interesting topic to maybe discuss a little bit more later on. But I would also like to ask Mr. Jung from the fruit. As you heard in his introduction, they've been working in Vietnam for 23 years. So I would like to get, from a private company perspective, working so many years in Vietnam as maybe one of the pioneers, I would say, in organic and agroecology. Can you share with us some of the challenges and opportunities you see related to what you work with, fruit and juice production in Vietnam, and maybe also touch upon how recycle takes place in the fruit? I think that could be interesting for the audience to hear.
Thank you. Hello. Wow, thank you very much for your question. That question really indicate in our daily business. So the first challenge we received from the beginning when we established the company is about the feeling lonely to work daily with the smallholder farmers. So that's because we put the objective to work on the agroecology to bring, the aspect of protection the environment, protection of the people in community, protection of the consumer. So that is the first thing we challenge with, because so lonely to work, with the smallholder farmers daily for 23 years. And then the second challenge, when we go deeply in the rural, in the village, especially in Mekong Delta, we see that we have really a big lack, of control of the chemistry for the farmings. So you can see everywhere, very close to the door, about, selling, advertising of pesticide, insecticide, some with label, some without label, no origin, nothing. So farmers, they very easy to get the influence and to use it thanks to the advertising information next door. Then we also see the big challenge also very typical in here, and we learn for 23 years working in agroecology, especially for the fruit sector and fruit juice, is about the very limit to financial access to the farmers and also the firms. So thanks to the small scale of the farms, everyone knows that in Vietnam the farmers, they have a very limit area. They have about 1 hectare maximum, no bigger than that. So when they try to access to the finance, it's a big deal for them. And also the company like us, we try to do on this, to whenever we try to have the support from finance to help in terms of the sustainable development, always receive the injection, because something too small for them to really invest in the small farming. Then the 4 challenges we are facing also today, we see more and more, especially after the COVID time, about the market barrier in the local market. I mean, again, not easy to bring the good product, set product to the consumer due to the barrier from the distribution network in Vietnam. Luckily, Le Fruit, we have been working well since the beginning with the HoReCa business for the hotel. However, we don't want only work for that segmentation, because set food should be for everyone. It's not only for the top market. So that's also the big challenge, because anytime we try to go closer to the consumer through the distribution network, we always face the issue of the barrier, which you see more and more product, conventional product, and also industrial product on the shelf of the supermarket than the set food, set product in the market. So that's a big barrier. And on top of that, everyone know that, okay, the climate change, especially typically in Mekong Delta, is the big challenge, really big challenge for not only for Le Fruit, but not for everyone who doing the agroecology in Mekong Delta. In the past or from now, that's a big topic everyone discuss now. So that a big challenge. However, we believe that the challenge always brings us some opportunity by the working hour remotely and significantly. We build our own community we call Le Fruit Village. So somehow we base on the culture of the farmers in Vietnam. Is that long good culture is the combination in between the culture and the practice of the farmers, especially in Mekong Delta of Vietnam. So we built our Le Fruit Village. It's about the community. And then by chance, what should we say? We have been doing that from very beginning for a long time ago already, so that we take a good advantage to conquer the international market, especially after the COVID time. We receive more and more concern and the contact from the international market regarding the agroecology product and the sustainable development. So that is, really motivate us to continue and to conquer for the next step.
Thank you for that. I think it's really interesting to hear the panelists' take on how important the small-scale approach is, and also hearing from our panelists from the government that there's more than 10 million, not people, but 10 million households in Vietnam that are relying on agriculture. So I think it's really important to discuss these topics. I think I would like to open the floor. If there's any questions from the floor. When you ask a question, do we have a walking microphone? I can also do that, no problem. When you ask the question, please say where you come from, ask your question, and to whom you ask the question. Then it's a little bit easier to keep track of. Any questions?
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Sanjeev Lewis. I'm a senior advisor to Grow Asia. It's a NGO based in ASEAN, so represented in Vietnam as well. I come from a sustainable finance background, so my question is more on that side, and could be either to Mr. Zung, who I know from my IDH days, or to anyone else on the panel who wants to comment. But the question would be, as you see it when you're looking at these programs, these landscape programs, or if you're, Andrew, if you're looking at how to implement the right practices, and Mr. I forgot your name, sir, from the fruit. If you could also comment, some of the challenges you're facing when you look at these communities. What is sustainable finance getting to these farmers or these communities? How much of a challenge is that? Does that represent in order to scale this up?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So you know that IDET and Grocia, we are also in some of the public-private task force for some commodity in Vietnam. Yeah, so the ministry set up a public-private partnership to encourage the public-private collaboration to address, and Grocia is the co-chair of that, and also working closely with IDET. So the question is that the carbon we claim, yeah. So how we going to deal with it? It's claimed by the company, it's claimed by the government, or the farmer can sell. So that's a link to the finance question, yeah. So we are, that recently there's some mechanism where they buy the carbon credit from they call small household. So. And I did also explore that opportunity. For example, the Rabobank in the Netherlands, they also buy $20 per ton, as long as you indicate that carbon come from improved agriculture practice. Yeah. And other option is that the company, the retailer, who going to buy the product, they also pay the premium price for the farmer who commit to doing the better farming practice to reduce the carbon. Yeah. But for now, in the Central Highland, IDET is exploring the option on the buyer. They are going to, because on the farming practice, the farmer is not doing alone. They got the support from IDET, they support from the company, the buyer. Yeah. So we call it co-financing projects. So the money will come from IDET, will come from the buyer, and also link or synergy with some of the government program. So that is but it's not yet the farmer get directly how many dollars per ton of carbon reduced, but more on the other benefits given to them by multi-stakeholder. And the company, their benefit is that they will claim that they committed and they take action and they have impact, and they will show how many carbon they reduce. Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
I may just add to that and just going the next layered on, and and talking more about the technology side of things, more specifically agri-fintech. So it's like, how do you deploy this finance and leverage, these vehicles to actually use these platforms to connect all those multi-stakeholders and get that data? So I think a big challenge that we're seeing is for the likes of Grow and IDH and is how do you use and how do you qualify some of these platforms that do have a high growth path, if they're able to connect the dots and get you the data and the impact that you're looking for.
Okay, we have time for one or two more questions. So who was first? Ladies first, I think. It's good with some exercise for me as well.
Thank you very much. So my name is Marion Chaminade. I'm from the French embassy here. I'm really happy to see this topic being the first one discussed today. As you know, of course, France really supports this agroecology approach. We have pushed towards an agroecology coalition at the international level, which actually Vietnam was joined really early on. And it's really interesting. Of course, we all see the tremendous challenges that lies ahead of us, but we also see the strong ambition of Vietnam to move towards agroecology, and this is really interesting. My question is not addressed to a specific speaker, so we'll see who will feel concerned, but we've talked about what farmers need. We've talked about the need, of course, of the economic approach. We've talked about the need to use less pesticides, so maybe a better framework for that. Also better training, better technical support. My question is there also a need for specific and innovative tools? I'm thinking about biocontrol, weather prediction solutions, digital agriculture, etc. According to you, what is the main challenge to accompany these farmers towards a more agroecological approach? Thank you.
Thank you so much. I may take that one first because it sounded like there was a bit of additional tech there. In part of my introduction, I didn't share, but I worked for Accor for 5 years as their global F&B procurement, so French to French, and understanding the supply chain quite well. I flew in from Singapore last night, but we've got Agri-Food Tech conference over there, and there's a lot of these technologies that are circulating there, and obviously coming here for today's conference, I was thinking, okay, how do these technologies fit in the agroecology approach? And one of them, and I'll use as an example, was another startup, but he was part of the Mars rover mission, and he's developed, a cheap robot that's able to go down the farms and actually do soil testing and actually help you test how much fertilizer and how do you transition out fertilizer and actually do all your weather samples as well. They're already working in Vietnam on cocoa plantations. They are looking for more opportunities to work with more farms here. So that's where the question is, like, who funds these robots? How do you give the platforms to do that? So I think it is a people problem and a financing problem first, and then it's actually making sure that you've got solutions providers who are able to connect all the dots and say, okay, well, we need the money, we need the people, we need the training, we need all these things, and let's make sure that we can pull it all together. Speaking on France again, I know that they're doing quite a lot in the microbial ecology of the soil each year, and I think they're doing 50 pilots each year, and they're doing rapid progress. So the other question is how can you do a knowledge transfer from Europe to Vietnam for these practices and actually develop those practices? Hopefully I touched on enough of an answer for you. Anyone else?
So Thanh, I think this is a very interesting question, and you know, the solution for the farmer sometimes is not directly to the farmer, but it's more on many different levels. For example, you will see that the farmer, they buy the pesticide from the shop, but they either sell them the fake pesticide, or then you need the government control. So, for example, in the, let me come back to our program. We working with the government to improve the pesticide shop management. Yeah, we working with the government to develop the app for the we call agrochemical app, where the farmer, they can type the name of the pesticide, and they know that how legal it is, what's the dose they can use, for example. And we also working, so we're working on the policy level, working on digitalization, and also working with the Department of Extension, develop the training material for farmer. But the farmer nowadays, they cannot carry the book with them to the farm, then you have to digitize it on the app so that the farmer, they can read it. So I think the intervention is broader than at the farm level, but it's also at the policy level, at the capacity building level, at communication, etc. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm David Whitehead. I'm the chairman of Marvin Group. We're a large vertical integrated agribusiness operating throughout Vietnam. Thank you, Jasper, for giving me the opportunity to ask a question. Mr. Tang and Mr. Dom, you both talked about issues about small farming households. We are a large farming enterprise, and I know the government, when I speak to Mr. Huan and to others at MARD, they talk about the tension between supporting large enterprises like ours, but also encouraging smallholder farmers. And with us, we can comply with regulations, we can comply with all of the environmental controls, we can control pollution, wastewater management, energy use, etc. Small householder farms cannot. They have different drivers. They're about making enough money to sustain themselves from day to day. So they are really net polluters. They're polluting waterways and other things. So what is the solution to that? I mean, clearly there's education, but if we have 10 million farming households in Vietnam, how do we get to them? And how do we get them to understand that they have a much larger responsibility than just feeding their households?
Hello. Thank you very much for a very interesting question, but it's very difficult to find a solution, honestly, because yesterday we also organized a workshop on developing the agroecologicals. And why we organize this workshop? Because when I and also my minister, we talk with the local governments, and the local government and also the cooperative and even the farmers, especially the big farmer. They said that we have a strategy for agriculture, and in the strategy for agriculture, we emphasize forwards to agroecological. But honestly, they do not understand what it is and how they can start it. And are there any criteria to assess that? And that is the why we also found that it's very difficult, not only to convince the 10 million agriculture household, but also to have the local government to understand the agroecological approach. So that's why we think that it's not easy and it's very difficult. Not, however, we found that it's not only the responsibility of the Ministry of Agriculture. It's not the responsibility of the Marvin or any enterprise. And I think it is the roles of the host stakeholders, especially the government, the center like Ministry of Agriculture, and also it is the responsibility of the local government, also the responsibility for the enterprise like Marvins. Back to your question, what is solution? So we found that it's not, we cannot convince all the peoples by just say that, oh, you have to follow that, you have to follow that. And I think the solution could be have some, we need to devise into the like awareness raising first. So I think the first solution, we need to train, to organize many difficult, or we also intend to document that. We have to have a document and we send to the different stakeholders about the agroecology approach. What is the principle of the agroecological, and how the local government can start, and how the farmer can start. So I think the first one about the awareness raising, and because this is very important, because you know that the farmer, they already follow the old habits and the behaviors. Now they want to change the new approach and new behavior. It's very difficult for them to change, and we need to tell them that the benefits from that. Because we stay here, and like Marvin, I know you are a big company, and even IDH or we understand it. The agroecological is a very bring a lot of the benefits. But with the farmer, they only concerned about is it profitable, they can earn more or less. That's why that we need to train, and we need to tell them about the responsibility of the farmer. And it is the first thing. The second thing is that they understand, but how we can support them to do that. So I think through the training course, through the extension system, we need to train them, and also from the like a company, when you work with farmer. And I think the roles of enterprise, the agribusiness, it plays very important roles. Because you bring the market signal, the farmer need to change it. If they want to export, if you want to sell the product to me, you need to change, and you need to change the recipe. You need to change the way you're doing now. So I think this is the second solution. And the third solution, that I think we need to have some policy to support that. In terms of the policy, I think that now there's some organization, they already bring we call the green credit for the farmer, and green credit or enterprise. So I think that is a very good policy now. Yeah, and also in terms of the government, we also advise for the government, we need to have some kind of policy for that, credit policy, education, training, and even we need to have some like a special credit program for the agroecological. So I think that in terms of the government, I think the government need to, like Dung also mentioned about, we need to have a program for that, and this program has two different components, and also to involve the roles of the agribusiness, the roles of community, local government, because from the experience when we work with the IDH to develop the landscape for coffee. So in that we design like an IDH, they design we call the back compact, and the edge compact. We need to involve different stakeholders, from the input provider, community, farmer, or even like some like export. So we need to build up the area for that, because the ecological agriculture is not only the small farmer, and as you know that we have different levels, and from level 1 to level 5. But more importantly, from the level 4 and 5, it's not only different individual farmer. It is like a regional. It is a landscape. So it is a food system. That's why I think that we need to program, and in this program we have a lot of policy, a lot of component. So I think if we can do that, so I think that the agroecological in Vietnam will be more developed. Yeah, that's what I think. Thank you very much.
So I think I would like to say thank you for the question, also thank you for the answer, and maybe a little bit on a personal note. Often in these discussions, it becomes a little bit either small scale or large scale, and I think that's a wrong. That is not correct to look at it like that. I think very much it's about involving both the large, more corporate, but also the smaller scale. So thank you very much for that question. We have time for one more question before we go back to the preloaded questions I have. Go ahead, last one. We have another round for questions after, so if you have something on your mind, you can ask at the end of the session.
Thank you for allowing me to ask my question. My name is Delafont. People ask me, where do you come from? I answer, I come from Saigon. I live and work 6 years in Saigon, and then I tell them, all right, on my passport is written European Community. My question is on the title of the panel, and let me give you some background. I am active in executive education, so people who work already, you know, how to lead change, how to manage change, how to go with a process from A to Z, how to transform, how to stop using the words difficult, impossible, and use opportunity, change leadership education. And my first customer and partner now is a small Vietnamese company active in the field of Vietnamese food, agricultural products traceability. And their customers are small companies that are directly buying products from the 10 million households you were talking about. Just a very quick note on these agricultural families in Vietnam. Many of them, their first priority is to make sure they eat every day. And some of them, which I estimate to about 5 million people, it's even more than that, is what they eat every day, and they ask their children to stop going to school when they are 12 or 14 to go in the rice fields to work with them, otherwise they don't eat. My question is, Green Economy Forum, I love these three words. You have the word green, economy, forum. I understand forum, I understand green. What about economy? So my question is, instead of, and maybe there is no answer today, it's just to think about it, because I have a 35 years economic background, 20 years in multinational, and 15 years as a private entrepreneur. And I feel a little bit close to these people who ask themselves what they eat every day, because if I have some customers, I eat. If I don't have customers, I have to ask myself some serious questions as a private entrepreneur. So my question on the title of the panel is, why agroecology approach and not agroecology with an added value approach, or agroecology with an economic added value approach, or very simple, instead of agroecology approach, why not agroecology and economic approach? And I don't expect an answer today, but maybe someone wants to comment. Thank you very much.
I wholeheartedly agree, but I don't know who names the panel. Do you have any insight into that?
No, I don't. I'm a Dane, so my English is quite limited, you know. So I think I like the thinking around it. That is always useful to do. I think when you talk about, and I'm assuming now because I did not put up the title, but green economy is probably often when we talk green, often when we talk sustainability, traceability, we talk about cost. So we talk about this is a cost to the industry, this is a cost to the farmer, this is a cost to the consumer. So I think by putting in economy, the organizers are changing the focus a little bit too much towards not only green, but also how do you become profitable? How do you become talking about investment instead of cost when you talk about green? And I think that for me also, not only in this forum, but in other forums, we need to change talking about cost. We need to start talking about investment in green, and in my opinion, that's why the economy is there. That is my humble, maybe a little bit simple explanation to that.
And I'm happy to be corrected, but I was there at the 2023 forum, and I don't think there was much dedicated to food or agriculture there. A lot of it was based on wind farms and solar and water, and looking at more large-scale operations, and looking at something that could look at a smallholder farm level. But I think it's perfectly appropriate. Like, economics and biology are both based on complex and complicated systems, right? So looking at how they can mesh together, I think it's a bit of a headache for many people right now, and people are still trying to work out what those metrics are. But I think there's going to be a lot of learning in that space, working out how to balance sustainability, value, social good, environmental benefit, and what consumers are after it all.
Okay, so I have another round of questions for the panelists here. If we can keep the answers down to 2 minutes, then we can also have another round of questions from the floor. So I ask the panelists to try to be concise in your answers. Mr. Tang, I would like to ask you, now we had a lot of interesting discussions also from the floor about this topic. So if you can share some of the projects you have in developing ecological agriculture, and what your department, IPSAT, has done to make their strategy and vision come true and off to a good start in Vietnam. If you can elaborate a little bit more on that, that would be great.
Thank you very much for the question. Yeah, thank you very much for the question. I think that our institute is the Institute of Strategy, Policy Strategy. So that's why our mission is like a think tank in terms of the policy strategy. However, we also cooperate with different partners to develop some different projects and programs, in which we also develop some kinds of program to stimulate the agroecology. For example, a long time ago, 10 years ago, we worked with the BCS. I'm not sure you know the BCS. It's like one of the system, the participatory warranty system. So it also one of the system to work more agroecology. And also we work with IDH for developing the landscape of coffee. We also to develop with some community for the tea orchard. So I think that there's a lot of the program now that's international organization, both the NGOs and also non-NGO, the government, and also many projects that the agribusiness are doing now. However, we also rely that from the policy and from the agribusiness, and if we bring it into the small household, it is very difficult. Recently, we are developing the very big project. We call the 1 million hectare of high quality of rice with the low carbon. So I think it's the first project we develop in terms of the national levels. And also when we work with the World Bank, and they also mentioned to us that with the low carbon rice, in terms of the small areas, Vietnam and also other countries already developed. However, in terms of the like a very big area, like 1 million hectare of rice, especially in Mekong River Delta. So it is a very, very difficult. Yeah. From many ideas from different audience here and also from the panelists here, we also found that it's very difficult to develop the 1 million hectare of rice, because the 1 million hectare of rice is equivalent to around 1 million rice household. So how we can convince the 1 million household, how we can change the 1 million household cultivation behaviors. And in the project, we get the very great support from the international organization, especially from World Bank, IFC, and from the many donors. They can come and work with us. However, we also realize that it is very difficult, and especially we put project only in 6 years from now to 2030, and from now to 2030 we can change and develop the 1 million hectare of rice with no carbon. And of course the credit, carbon credit is the only one incentive. However, if we can build up 1 million hectare of rice with low carbon and high quality, we can change the behaviors of the farmer, and we can change the rice system for Vietnam so far. And we can tell with the importer that we change now and we can meet the requirement. And in terms of the solution for that, we need a lot of solution from the trainings, from the policy, especially in terms of the credits, and also in terms of the government investment. We intend to have a very big loan program from World Bank, about $400 million to support that. And it is mainly support the cooperative and the farmer. And we found that to do that, we need to organize the farmer into the cooperatives. So that is if we can do that, we can get the success. And however, to do that, we need the roles of the agribusiness. Because when we organize the farmer into the cooperative can be the representative of the farmer to deal with the input providers, and also to sign the contract, like a farming contract with the agribusiness. Yeah. So I think we focus more on that, the two solutions. The first one, the organizing the farmers and to develop the value chain. And the second one, we need to have some incentive policy and government investment, especially with rice. If we can do the sustainability for rice, the supply and the drainage of the water is very important, and it needs to related to the irrigation investment. That's why it's two solutions that we think that we can do that. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Mr. Tang. Mr. Dong, you mentioned in the beginning about the Le Fruit village. I think that's a very interesting concept. Can you describe a little bit more in depth what this concept is and how that relates to our topic today?
Thank you for your question. This is how our success for 23 years to build, to continue and to combine the culture of the farmers in Vietnam and especially the Vietnamese. They are living very close together in the village. So in order to bring the agroeconomy practice into the village, to provide, a unique training, the influence, to unite the people together to work in the right way, in the good agriculture practice, then we did our Le Fruit village. So how it works? Well, when we target some fruit to go for our production for fruit juice, we will come to to look for the place, especially to know the village in some province. And then we come there directly to do our pilot farm, small farm, and we do by ourselves. And we daily work with to show the farmer around, to see that we are working on our farm by the good agriculture practice, to let them, to use the right thing on the farm, to protect the soil, to protect the water around. And then that influence the people, the farmer, they are living near to our farm. And then, the next step, we introduce, to our need to the farmers in the village. And we organize more training with the people, with the farmers in the village. And then we tell them what we need for the production. And what they have seen, especially for the farmers, when they see the real things on the farm, in their land, and also the need from the firms like us, and to really convince them to go into good practice. So, of course, luckily, that is our method to go close and to build the community. We build the community, and then that community, they solely work for Le Fruit, so we call Le Fruit Village, and we daily work together. Of course, we bring also the training, we bring also the smart agriculture, like traceability app, to work with them. And important thing is, for the farmers, as Peter Tang mentioned, is about the livelihoods, how to keep them stay better livelihood. So always the question, how much I earn per hectare, per area I have today when I transfer from rice to the fruit, and how I continue, or are you still here for many years or for few years? There's a question always farmers they ask. And then, once, to show them, we show them that, we are here to work together with them. And to reduce, the important thing is, the first thing we have to do is to reduce the farming cost directly on the farm. How? We use our fruit waste to process in compost, and then we use other waste residue around the land of their farm, and to practice with them to bring in the compost. And then we tell them, that is how our ancestor, grandparent worked before, to protect the environment and to protect the nature. So if you bring it, and then you will reduce the cost on your farm. And then what else? Of course, very important, to make sure that all product the farmers they produce, we purchase all of that. So this, one by one, day by day, we build the community. And then when they see you are the real person, you exist, you are not, for a few years, you're there working daily with them. And then, it's how you strengthen the relationship. This is the most important. How we establish that, we based on the culture of the Vietnamese. The Vietnamese, we live a very, strong in the community. That's why you can see like village by village, they know each other, they influence other. If one do good, the other one will learn and they will do good. And our really success story is about to build the Le Fruit Village today. If you go to Cần Thơ, you go to Hậu Giang, you can ask people about the Le Fruit Village. They can tell you about the Le Fruit Village. Why Le Fruit Village? And we also have in the village, as you know, we have the head of the village. So we also built the system, the core, we call Le Fruit House. So Le Fruit House is like, the place, just a house where all the Le Fruit farmers, they can come, they can discuss, and we also organize all the training directly there. Nowhere else So people, they say all reality and all life. So that is how we do. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I would love to visit a Le Fru house one time in the near future. Andrew, that was a little bit maybe related to the question we had as the last question in the open floor session, talking about the value, talking about moving from talking about cost to investment. So how do you think we can encourage the global market, the big buyers, to move beyond the cost-driven decision? We talk a lot about things that are not necessarily monetary at today. So how can we make these decisions recognize and fairly compensate for the true value of talking this sustainability farming?
Yeah, thank you for the question. As I raised earlier, so I used to be a big buyer from the big buyers, so the global F&B procurement for Accor hotels. So this is a Marriott, but Accor's the leader in Southeast Asia. They've got 5,500 hotels globally in 110 countries. So I was looking after that portfolio and doing negotiations with juice companies, coffee companies, and the likes. And now it's been very refreshing looking at this from a different lens, working with Regenex and the coffee, and actually just looking at how people are looking at the produce going there that would come to the hotels, that would come to the consumers, and how you actually manage that discussion across the value chain. There was a workshop here in Hanoi yesterday that was dedicated to agroecology, and I received some of the notes, and the topics are still being raised on just that multi-value recognition and looking outside of just a commodity mindset. So how do you value the true cost? How do you value the externalities? What damage does pesticides do on a community? What is the brand value of actually doing the right thing? There's a lot of work being done in this space. There was a conference here in April for the UN Food Systems Stocktaking moment where there was a lot of attention given to it. But it's actually making sure that you get that idea of value outside of financial value through that full value chain, and you can only do that with data and making sure that all those value chains are linked up. So how do you get that in front of a consumer? Or if you're in front of a consumer, you need to have a proper brand recognition. Hey, this is agroecology certified, this is this level, and we can trust it all the way back through the supply chain. Through that, you need your manufacturers and your producers to actually be committed to that and not blend all of these different types of produce and then take the difference, and hopefully that it all gets forgotten about. If they're doing a mix of good things and bad things, they actually have to provide a platform for the better quality products, the low carbon products, the ethical products, the agroecology products. And then it's actually, going back further again, your gate to farm and making sure that those practices are there, and you're actually able to actually put some metrics on that. What is the saving for a global company? And this was what I was working on, for if you're able to validate a scope 3 reduction and carbon sequestration, that's big dollar money for especially European-based companies today. So what is that dollar value? And if you've got that proof, how much does that mean to a company? So I think it's a common theme. It's it's about having a holistic approach, a systemic approach. It's about knowledge management, it's distribution, it's technology, it's communication. But you need to have your buyer, your end buyer in the mind, which is today us drinking our water, coffee, and teas in the room, and making sure everything backwards is connected and communicated.
All right, thank you for that. Jung, maybe you already did talk a lot about the projects and the aquaculture projects and spice projects, but maybe can you let us know how companies can collaborate with you on these new projects? How do you spoke a little bit, you're bridging the gap, but can you maybe put a few more words on that, how you see that collaboration going forward?
It's difficult to think it's difficult to answer, but my short answer is that we set up a public-private partnership coalition, with different private sector, and this partnership coalition address the interest, the need from this different stakeholder group. So, and it's also co-chaired by together IDET and also the government, and we develop some joint solution together. Maybe that's enough.
Yeah, it's like, thank you for that, Jung. You got the short end of the stick on that one. Sorry about that. We don't have more time, so we will not let the microphone walk around the floor this time. I will very briefly summarize what we talked about today. I think it was interesting in the first discussions we had that 10 million households in Vietnam are actually depending on agriculture, and it's a 14% total of the GDP in Vietnam. I think that underlines how important this topic is. I think it was also interesting to hear that we have a shift from where building up the industry has more been a focus on production and a lot of production towards now more a focus on sustainability and production. I think it would not be fair to say only focus on green. It will also be a focus on production still. But at least that is very much, it's nearly like a paradigm shift in what we heard from our participant from the government. I think in the discussions before the panel here, we also talked about the work that the MART is doing on this, and I called it a project, and I was corrected, and was said this is not a project anymore, this is now strategy of the government. So I think again showing that it's quite an interesting shift from a smaller project approach to now it's a proper strategy approach by the Vietnamese government. I think that is something we should acknowledge. We also heard about how do we make sure that these farmers, these countries, in this case Vietnam, how do they get recognized for this? So we need tools in helping the value chain focus on where the carbon hotspots are, the emission hotspots are. We heard some interesting comments from Jung on coffee production, 50% on farm is the emission. Pepper was 90%, aquaculture 50%, I think we heard. Was that only for the feed maybe? So how do companies, European companies working in Vietnam, ensure that carbon is offset some way before it reaches the retailer? We talked about technology, capacity building through applications. We talked about the difficulties in smallholders and sometimes also large holders in getting finance. Traceability. In Aqua we have a lot of small scale for working for my own industry. How do you ensure traceability when you have 100 farmers supplying one processing plant? That can be a challenge sometimes. We also talked about this is not a small scale versus large scale corporate discussion. This is actually an inclusive discussion involving all farmers. We talked a lot about the Le Fruit village and also the Le Fruit house. I think that community approach with the communities is really interesting and really important. The long-term commitment is really important. This is not a project where you come in for 4 years and then move out. No, this is something that is long-term and at least 23 years, maybe even 46. Finally, we talked a little bit about data. We talked about reliable data. How do we show to the retailer, how do we show to the customer all the good work we are doing? And finally, I think Zoom rounded it off very nicely, that we need everyone involved in this. This is not something the Vietnamese government can do alone. This is not something the NGOs can do alone. This is not something the farmers or the supply industries that support the farmers can do alone. No, this is a partnership where you need all sectors involved. And if you do that, I think you have a great chance to make it succeed. So I think those would be the last words for the first panel this morning. I would like you to give a big hand to the panelists for their effort today.